Okay, hi and welcome to this crash course on our streaming process here at Nexus ICA. This is a quick diagram which shows exactly what's happening before we get into the technical bits of it or anything, just so we can understand really we're going from an input source here through some technology to an output which is either streaming to YouTube or recording straight onto the hard drive of the Mac Mini. So if we start with our input sources, we have two video sources. We have the camera that's on the mezzanine, and we also have a feed from the screen of Nexus. So that's coming through, and they both come via HDMI into the Blackmagic TVS HD, or the Television Studio HD. We've also got audio. So we've got audio from the desk, so whatever's going into the desk we're getting. And we've also got an ambient mic on top of the roof of the AV suite. Now because they're separate, we want to bring them into a mixer to mix them, and so we can balance that signal. We can say, I want ambient mic, I don't want the desk feed. I want the desk feed, I don't want any ambient mic. And then that gets sent into the Blackmagic Television Studio HD. This thing is a video and audio mixer. So it takes these sources, all of them, and it can kind of do different things with them, mix them into what we want them to be. Then it has a final output, which is the final render, which gets sent over an SDI cable, which is just another kind of video cable, into something called the Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. That converts what this outputs into something that the Mac Mini can understand, and it gets sent over a Thunderbolt cable into the Mac Mini. On the Mac Mini, we use a bit of software called Wirecast to encode that output so that it can be written to a hard drive or broadcast straight to YouTube. So that's the signal flow, if you like. So it's relatively simple, but obviously inside each of these there's a lot of complexity. So next we'll look at the actual practical, what these things look like and how we can work with them. So let's start with the Television Studio HD. So you can see here we've got some buttons along the front. We've got a screen which is showing us exactly what is being output from it at the moment, so that's really useful, really handy to see. You've got an audio meter so you can see what the level's like. And in reality, there isn't a lot that needs to happen at this point. We can change, so you'll notice that there's a green light and a red light, very bright. The green one is the preview, as in it's not live, but if you wanted to go over to that one, if you press cut or auto buttons here, you'll notice that it then goes red, so then that is live. And if I go back, red is live again. And you can put any of the channels, it's got 8 inputs in total. So that's just how you can, if you didn't have any other way of controlling which signal you wanted to see, you can use those buttons on the front. That's hooked up to this, which is just a TV which is showing us all the views that are connected at the moment to that mixer. So you can see we've got the camera feed, channel 1, and the screen feed on channel 2. You'll also notice that in this output, what we've got happening is an overlay of screen 2 onto screen 1. And I'll show you how to set that up. That just gives us the control to bring on the slides at certain points if it's relevant or helpful, and take them off again. And we can choose, maybe we want to go full screen to a slide because it's really important to see what's on the slide, and then go back. So we've got some control there. This is our audio mixer, and you can see the two XLRs coming in. So this is the desk feed in channel 1, and in channel 2 we've got the ambient mic. You've got some EQ options, so if it's sounding out the speakers, sounding a bit weird, then you can tune the EQ there maybe. And obviously you've just got some faders which control the overall output. This is the master send as well, and so you can see on here how much is being sent. And really we want to be aiming for sending around the 0 mark, which you hope you can see on there. Can you see that when it goes red? Red is bad. Red is also on this meter now, so not so good. So we want to make sure and you'll hear it, will sound distorted. There's also a button here that you might notice, if I make this do it. That peak button means that the audio coming in is distorting. And you can change that by reducing the gain knob at the top. So hopefully we shouldn't have to do that. Hopefully this should stay pretty static, but I want you to be able to have confidence, oh, we're seeing an issue, this is how I can solve that issue. So at the moment we've got our input sources and we're able to control them to an extent. We've got our audio being sent from here, also into the back of here. There's 2 XLRs at the back here which control that. And the output is going out of this SDI cable here, down underneath here. And if I show you where it's going into that little box there, which hopefully you can see, and into down that white cable, back up over here, this one, into the Mac Mini. So we're coming on to the Mac Mini now, and if we go into Wirecast, which looks like that, we click that, it opens up this software, and now we can see our video coming into Wirecast, looking great. And then we can choose up here in the top left corner, we can choose to stream or to record. You see we're currently recording. I can stop that, that's not a problem. So when I open up Wirecast, it won't always look like this to begin with. Probably it will not have that in there. So what we need to do is add an input source by going onto any of these layers, clicking the plus, choosing capture device, and then you see Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, and then we have our device. Now again, if we do this from scratch, if I close this, we just start again. So come down, open up Wirecast. This is probably what you'll end up seeing to begin with. Exactly, so we've got two windows. Again, see the green button and the red icons here? Same as with the Television Studio HD. These represent the preview and the live. So at the moment, live is saying live broadcast area, and preview is black. So at the moment, if we were to stream this video over here is what would be streamed, which is not so good. So we want to add our input source like we just did, capture device, Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. And there it is, but you'll notice that it's on the preview screen, not on the live screen. To get onto the live screen, just hit this arrow, and there it is. So this is nice because we can then, Wirecast, you can kind of do the same thing. You can tee up going to black and go to black. Then if you click on this, and again, you'll see that the layer or the capture device goes green. Then when it's actually live, it goes red. So you know which layers are red and what things are red. You can change the view of this window. I typically don't need a preview because we only ever see the live, and we're doing all the mixing over here actually. So really this only needs a live view. So you can change that by pressing that button here, or you can just see preview, or you can see live and preview together, whichever you prefer. But generally I just go for the live. Now if we're going to stream to YouTube, we go over here, press the stream button there, which is this one, which brings up this. So we want to select our destination as YouTube. Okay. And then we've got all sorts of things here. First we want to do is hit the authenticate button, because we want to actually stream onto our tracking team account. So press that. You might need to sign in or log in using your own Gmail, and then you'll be able to access that. And here it's brought up the event, new video to be named. We could name it here if we want. You don't have to. That could be taken care of by the admin team. And encoding, we want to make sure that this is set to 1080p 30 to have a higher quality recording. Once that's done, you can press OK. And actually, as soon as you press that stream button, you'll see it go green, and you'll see the timer start to go up. So if I navigate to YouTube now on here, and go to our tracking team account, in about 45, so there's a 45-second delay or so on the stream. If we go into tracking team, create a studio, then come across to live streaming, we can see that we are live, and there it is. So this is actually broadcasting right now onto YouTube. So just as a test. And it's broadcasting this on a 45-second delay. Now, you may not want to stream onto YouTube, we may just want to record to the local disk. So if you press this button, yes, it may give you this, which is basically, don't do it, press add, or it may pop up with this window again, which you recognize, where we chose YouTube before, and choose record to disk MP4. Don't do MOV because it'll be the biggest file in the world, but MP4 is good. Press OK. You can choose, again, I typically go for 1080p 30, but you can choose and then press OK. And then if we press our record button, you can see now we're streaming and recording. But you'll notice that immediately we've got some unhappiness from Wirecast. It's saying our system CPU currently is on 93, 83%, 68%. There you go, so it's hovering around there. And you see that dropped here. That's telling us it's dropped 8 frames. So it's encoding a lot. It's basically now doing 2 sources in one. So what might be better is as soon as I unclick that record button, you'll notice that the CPU drops way back down, and this is going to drop less frames. If you click on that dropped bit, you can see what the current frames per second is that it's actually able to send. So 30 is what we were going for, 1080p 30, so that's really good. Okay, so there's a whistle stop tour. The last thing I'll show you is how there is something that can control this from this Mac called the ATEM software control. And you can see this here. If I click on this, it basically brings us up some controls for setting the parameters or making things happen here. So if I just change some buttons, you can see that without clicking anything, I'm able to click on these things here. Obviously it's nice and out of focus, yeah. And it's changing things on the screen for us. So the only thing I'll tell you about on this one is how to get that little side screen and how to do that. So to do that, you go into upstream key and then come across to DVE, choose the fill sources 2 or whichever one is the screen, and you can see these position settings are going to get it exactly in the corner. So it's a weird one, minus 8.81 on X, minus 4.95 on Y, and size 0.45 on both. When it does it by default, it likes to have a border, which looks ridiculous. You can see it just getting a bit bigger. It's a white border. We don't need that, so don't worry about that. And that's all you need to do in terms of setting it up. In terms of using it, what you need to do is, let's just make this a bit dark so you can see, it's under the key button. So currently, the key you can see on our window, as I click that, it's not changing it off and on or anything, but it is putting it onto our preview. So if I wanted to go to a shot with both of them together, well, I could do that. And then so here, another thing just quickly is, again, these cut and auto buttons are here, and you can change the rate at which they change. So set it to 0.15, press enter, and then click off it. And then when you press enter, you'll see the T-bar go on its own, and it does a nice fade for us. So you can see what's happening is we've got our funny little picture within that picture, within the bigger picture of what it is. And we can do that by pressing this key button. So you can see as I press it on and off, it pops it on and off to the preview. Once I'm happy with what I've got, then I can set that up. So maybe I want to go from that to this one. So these ones down here are all the preview ones. These ones up here are all the live ones. Never press the top ones, always press the bottom ones. And all you need to worry really is just pressing 1 and 2 and key 1 once you've got that all set up. And that's it. That is a whistle stop tour. Very briefly, we can listen to some of what this session is saying. So if we turn up our feed from the desk.
Even if, you know, we're in a position of leading, that doesn't mean we've sort of arrived, and we now just need to sort of make sure everyone else comes, but we need to keep moving, particularly like that. Yeah, great little insight there to the realities of church work. It's not just, you know, prayer and wine and bread, but it is, you know, a lot of work, and sometimes, you know, in some churches, I suppose, or prayer. And
so there you go, you can actually preview. And just as a quick one, these over here, this is, if I have it on,
work, a lot of dedication,
and then press this button,
but yeah, that
you can hear, that's basically the monitoring.
Remind yourself.
And so is that one.
But I love the place you're working, and for
so again,
a whole
you can
load
see,
of stuff. In fact,
hover over stuff, it tells you.
Reminding yourself of why you're somewhere, making sure you understand the reasons.
So this is just what
you know,
you can read it.
Being here, making sure you're.
So as with anything, hover over it and it will give you a little helpful. What does this do? What does this thing? What is this? press a button, see what happens. Okay, hope that's helpful. And that's your whistle stop tour.